Hi, I am Ali Nisus, registered nurse and managing director of Nice Us Geriatric Home Care Training and Agency Limited, and this is Return the Favor, a web series giving you tips on how to properly care for your elderly parents. They took good care of you as a child, so now it's time to return the favor. Hi, I am Ali Nisus, and you are watching Return the Favor. This is a web series which teaches you how to take care of your elderly parents because they did so well at taking care of you, so you are now returning the favor. Episode 9 is all about wounds. And last episode, we spoke about the basic anatomy and physiology of skin. So I've included the link somewhere. You will find it. Check it out. It will better help your understanding of this topic today. Right? So let's delve into it. We are going to identify wounds, what they are, and how to identify them. So again, I must say, please note, this is not medical advice. I'm a registered nurse giving information for your personal knowledge. For any wounds or medical issues, please seek medical attention from a trained professional practitioner, right? So this series, it's a 4-part series. The last YouTube video was about basic anatomy and physiology, and today we will look at all about wounds. And there are 2 other series coming up, so just look out for them, right? It is basically to raise awareness to help persons seek treatment as soon as possible if needed. So, what is a wound? It is essentially a break in the continuity of the tissues of the body, either internal or external, right? So the integrity of the skin is vital because it gives protection among other functions. So how to identify wounds? We have the classification of wounds and we have the types of wounds. So let's look at the classification. A wound can be classified as either an open wound, which means it's a break in the skin, or the mucous membrane. A mucous membrane is like a lining in the lining of your eyelid, right? That's a mucous membrane. And the other classification is closed wound. So there's injury to the underlying tissues, but there's no breakage. So that's more internal. For this episode, we'll be focusing on open wounds, right? So what are the type of wounds? We have abrasions. Abrasions are damage to the outermost layer. And the last time we spoke about the epidermis and the dermis, different layers. So this is damage to the outermost, more likely the epidermis and part of the dermis. Right? With these type of wounds, you have minimal bleed and minimal risk to infection, but definitely there is a breach, so there will be a risk. So yes, you still have to attend to them, but it is less risk. The next type of wound is called incisions. An incision is a cut with a sharp object, so like a piece of glass, something like that. That's caused by an incision. Bleeding may be rapid or heavy with these wounds, so be very careful with these type of wounds. The next type of wound is lacerations, and that it's similar to incisions, but it's a cut with a jagged edge. So if the glass had a broken edge, a piece of galvanized or something like that, or a blunt breakage, that can cause a laceration, and there's greater damage and an increased risk for infection, especially from whatever caused the cut in the first place. The other type of wound is punctures. You have piercing with a pointed object, so for instance a nail or ice pick, something like that. Now with these punctures, look out for internal damage. There may be damage way deeper than the eye sees on the surface, so be very careful with those type of wounds. The other type of wound is avulsions, and that's like a forcibly separation or tearing. So for instance, you tear your finger off, or in a car accident, those type of wounds can be, there may be a fracture of some bone there. There could be greater risk for infection. All wounds you have risk for infection, so look out for those. And ulcers are open sores which fail to heal, or they take a long time to heal. You can have internal ulcers, but we're looking at open wounds, remember? So we're looking at ulcers on the outside, and they are very prone to infection. One of the main types of ulcers we see in the elderly are bed sores or pressure ulcers. A while back they used to call them decubitus ulcers, but now they're called more so bed sores or pressure ulcers. So we'll have a topic on that because that is very relevant to elderly persons, especially persons who are more bedridden or wheelchair bound. They're more susceptible to bed sores. Now, one of the key takeaways from knowing what a wound is to know the treatment of the complications from wounds. Most of the complications from wounds are two categories. You have bleeding and you have risk of infection. Because again, the skin is a physical barrier, and when you have a breach in that barrier, foreign bodies can come in and cause havoc within your elderly person, right? And the blood loss, remember, elderly people are more prone to being dehydrated. They're more prone to less nourishment because sometimes they don't feel to drink water. They don't know the cues. They can't remember what it means to feel thirsty. They may not have that urge to ask, hey, can I get some water? And so on. So they are more susceptible to become dehydrated. So on top of that, you have a wound and blood is losing and they don't have much water in the system. It definitely can cause havoc. And because they have less blood, and they're not as young as they used to be, the risk of infection is greater because their immune system is not up to the level that was at one time. So it's harder for them to fight infection. So if you know the type of wound and you know how to identify it, and you can go to your doctor or your medical practitioner as soon as possible to make interventions to prevent loss of blood, to prevent risk of infection, you would have your elderly parent with you a lot longer. Don't forget to subscribe to get more content like this. And if you want more details on the topic for today, check out the blog on our website. Link in the description. Until next time.